simplifying rational expressions, especially complex rational expressions like this, these can be really tedious and time-consuming. I know that the author of the ebook that we're using, he shows you a couple of methods. I don't care what method you use. When you're taking your tests or when you're doing your final exam, you can simplify this whatever makes sense for you. You know, when I looked at this problem, I kind of looked at it different ways. But I finally just said, you know what, I'm just going to go through and to show you guys, I'm just going to go through and do it by simplifying the numerator and simplifying the denominator. In other words, I'm going to add the numerator, the fractions in the numerator together. So I'm just going to rewrite 1 as y over y, get a common denominator, and I'm going to write that minus 1, I'm going to write that as y squared over y squared. Again, getting a common denominator. So by adding or subtracting, I'm going to have y minus x over y over x squared minus x squared over y squared. So what are we doing with these two fractions? Well, really what we're doing is we're dividing them, right? We have a fraction in the numerator and we have a fraction in the denominator. And so if you want to, you could just write it using a division symbol. Instead of writing it as a complex fraction, you can just write the numerator divided by the denominator. And we know that division is the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. Now I can go in and factor y squared is y times y. The denominator down below is the difference of squares, so I'm going to factor that. That's going to be x minus y times x plus y. The y's are going to simplify. And I'm looking at the numerator in my first fraction, and I'm recognizing that it's a y minus x. And I'm looking at one of those factors in the denominator of the other fraction, and I'm noticing that it's x minus y. They're identical, but the terms are opposite of each other. So what if I were to just factor out a negative 1 out of that factor in the denominator? Well, if I factor out a negative 1, then my x becomes negative x, my minus y becomes plus y, and now what I do have is y minus x. By factoring out that negative 1, I now have two factors that are identical, and I can go through and simplify those factors. So now when I multiply everything out, I get y in the numerator. I have a negative 1 times x plus y in the denominator. If you want to leave it like that, you can leave it like that. Or if you'd like, you could apply your negative to the numerator and write that as negative y over x plus y.